Hello, this is Jerry Morton. Welcome to my Finding My Way podcast. This is podcast number 31, titled Interstate Coffee Break. Interstate Coffee Break is a story from my adult years. The collection of stories I have written and am reading to you cover many subcultures in our country that I have interacted with from childhood to my adult and senior years. A more extensive introduction to the Finding My Way stories takes place in the beginning of Podcast 1. Regardless of which podcast you are listening to, you will find the story both entertaining and worthy of your reflective thoughts concerning its contents. The stories, as a collection, provide insights into a span of time that has played a role in shaping American culture and influencing its future. The stories provide you with a sense of admiration for the culture's collective courage in our country's commitment to justice and its optimistic willingness to address new challenges. Interstate Coffee Break. We'd been on the road for about 2 hours. Cookeville exit was coming up fast. It was around 12:30 in the afternoon, our time, but 11:30 a.m. theirs. The time had arrived for a break. There was another hour and a half to 2 hours to go before we got to Knoxville, Tennessee. That was too far to go without a break. Anna and I had left the conference a little early that morning. I was still in my dress shirt and slacks. It had been a long 3 days. We simply wanted to go home as soon as we could. I was the first out of the car door. I needed the bathroom break, so I shot straight into the McDonald's bathroom. Anna was a distant second. Being the first out of the restroom, I went to see what I already knew was the menu. They had some new snack wraps that looked low-calorie. When Anna joined me, we gave our orders. Mine was for 2 grilled chicken snack wraps and a large coffee. Anna went to claim a table while I waited for the order. Looking around, there weren't as many people in the restaurant as I had assumed there would be for a Saturday lunch period. I noticed an elderly woman bent over in her winter coat enter the restaurant, followed by an even more ancient gentleman. He had that mountain man look to him, tall, extremely thin, hollowed cheeks, and deep-set eyes, the eyes that seemed to peer from sockets that were disappearing into his skull. Our order arrived. I carried it over to the window table where Anna was seating. The coffee was good. At first, we ate in mostly silent absorption, as we had talked constantly since leaving Nashville about the interesting things that had happened at the conference. Directly behind Anna sat a solitary woman eating her breakfast and reading the paper. From time to time, she'd look up and survey the room in a blank, expressionless manner. She appeared to be in her late 50s, a little younger than Anna and me. She was casually but well dressed, as if she were a professional person simply relaxing on this Saturday morning. In between bites and sips of coffee, Anna and I continued our traveling conversation. It was just in a momentary glance to the side that enabled me to notice that the elderly lady sitting at the table next to our booth. The ancient man was sitting beside her. They may have been husband and wife, although she didn't look quite as old as he did. They seemed to be eating in silence. I was too preoccupied with my own eating and conversation with Anna to really notice their interactions in any detail. Anna announced that the restaurant was offering a free cup of coffee every day until Valentine's Day. She was obviously reading from a sign behind me. She would just get that free cup of coffee, she announced, if the line was not too long. As she walked to the serving counter, I noticed that the line for orders was long. She would be gone for a while. I looked briefly at the newspaper lady directly in front of me. She seemed to notice and quickly looked over at the elderly couple. Turning my head, I followed her gaze. A gray-haired man, younger than the elderly couple, approached them carrying his order and greeted them with a big smile. The old woman asked him how he was doing. "I may just be holding on," he bellowed, as he enthusiastically turned the chair at the next table to face theirs and sat down. They laughed as I did. My laughter caught his eye. With both of us looking at each other in that instant, I spontaneously said, "I'm just visiting the earth myself." All four of us laughed at that. The elderly lady replied, "Well, we all are. Some of us will soon be leaving. We've been here a long time." More laughter. "He's been here since 1923. "Yep," came the whispery voice from the mountain man. I was in the Second World War." As he was saying that, he raised his left leg to reveal an oversized shoe on his foot and pointed at it. "Where were you?" I replied. I had to strain to hear his soft voice, as I thought he said, "Asia, 1944, in the mountains. It was bad." Yes, I know it was. They put up some of the fiercest resistance of the war there. "That's right. How'd you know?" I work with some military people from that time. I've worked some of Morell's Marauders people. "Oh, where was that?" "Oh, that was in Burma and that area." I was in Italy." "Well, the Germans fought the hardest to keep you bottled up there. Some say they fought harder there than in any other place during the war," I stated, trying to recover from my error. "I have a brother who studies World War II and writes about it. He keeps me informed." It was bad." "Yes, I know. Who are you with?" What did he say?" the ancient man asked the elderly woman. "He wants to know what unit you were with in Italy." 450 is what I think he said. I had no idea what that unit was, or if I had heard the numbers right. I knew some Rangers that fought in that battle, but I didn't recognize a unit called 450. This was awkward. "Oh yeah, they got it bad," I said, trying to be supportive. "We sure did," the soft voice whispered out. "Hey, where are you going?" the across-the-table guy asked, greeting my refocusing eyes with a smile. "We're going home to Knoxville from Nashville," I said, moving from my table to sit at the table the ancient couple sat at in order to hear him better. Anna had yet to return with her coffee. It was obvious that they had a conversation going, and I wasn't going to be able to gracefully end this conversation soon. "I'm a Whitehead. Do you know Max Whitehead in Knoxville?" Now, this guy is asking the second worst person in the world for remembering names if I know a Maxwell Whitehead in Knoxville. How am I going to get out of this one? No, I don't think I do. Well, how about Sam Timberley? No, I'm afraid I don't know him either. Well, he's a surgeon there. The Whiteheads are big in Knoxville. You know that big double white story house in Knoxville? I don't know what this guy is talking about, so I just give him a big grin. The newspaper lady, she was the one reading the paper, walked up to the elderly lady and handed her the newspaper. They both smiled at each other. No words were spoken as the newspaper lady moved on to the door. A little defensively, I replied in a somewhat quiet voice, I do know some people at the university. That Whitehead was a friend of Governor John Sevier. Well, I knew that Governor Sevier was the first governor of Tennessee. This guy had a real family history that he was proud of. Yeah, actually, he slipped in a little laugh as Anna's coffee in hand approached our little group and nodded to her in acknowledgement. We go back to royalty, yep. We got royal blood. Of course, I'm kind of a Whitehead on both sides of my family. I resisted making a humorous statement out of that one. Instead, I remained diplomatic and said, That's a lot of family history. Yep, he beamed. There is nothing up there except Indians when the Whiteheads first arrived. That area was the capital for that region, The elderly lady started quietly talking with Anna. Yes, you're right. I think it was once the state capital, too. Yep. The Whiteheads were big. Another gray-haired man joined the group. He asked, Are we into genealogy yet? That brought great laughter from our happy group. I was in the CCCs, piped in the ancient one, looking directly at me. Well, I know you did some wonderful work then. Yeah, I lived up above Johnson City then. We worked hard, but it wasn't that hard. That was before they were building the Cherokee Dam. Mr. Burns was older. He was my boss. They got older guys who knew how to teach us younger guys how to do things. He was a good man. Did you ever hear of him? I stared at him in blankness. No, you wouldn't have. He was a good man. We worked in the flatland. It wasn't all that hard. You CC guys did good work. I hike in the Smokies, and you can still walk on the trails you guys built. They have stood the test of time. Yeah, we did some good, that's for sure. Looking at the wristwatch I wasn't wearing, I said, I'm sorry, but my wife and I have to be going back to Knoxville. I have to check in with my probation officer. Everyone gave a big belly laugh at that line. My son's a probation officer up there, Mr. Whitehead proudly stated. Well, I think I might know him then, I shouted back as we started moving to the door. We all laughed at my line and waved goodbye. At the table closest to the door, a gray-haired man and his wife smiled at us. Looking into my eyes, the smiling man quietly said, Try to stay out of trouble. Turning while opening the next door, I smiled back and replied, I'll try.